All right, thanks for having me. I'm going to talk about my family history in Gloucester Harbor, and then I'm going to read a short little two-page poem that I wrote, and then I'm going to open it up to questions. So my 3 out of 4 of my grandparents were born in Sicily. The one that wasn't was born in the North End right by the Paul Revere House, and was there for the molasses flood, and then moved to Gloucester. So all 4 of my grandparents grew up down the fort. And that's where Ocean Crest Seafoods, my family business, is to this day. And so I'll start with my grandfather, Leo Linkwater. He started a lot of companies here in Gloucester. He was a schooner fisherman, and he would go out for months at a time, go into different ports, up and down the eastern seaboard, northeast, and he would send love letters to my grandmother. But that was back in the day when you couldn't really court, you had to secretly court. And so she had a cousin who fished with my grandfather, and he would sneak letters through him to her. And every letter started with, my dearest Anna, and I'm named after my grandmother. And then he would go on to say, we're in this port, we're in Coney Island, or we're, Cape May, all these different ports. And then say how he missed her and whatever. And then he would sign off every letter with, until I see you again, I send you an ocean of love and a kiss on every wave. Aww. Deadly, right? So no wonder she fell in love with him and married him. But he really couldn't even see her. He'd go to the door and pretend he was there to see her brother. And he did give each other looks across the room, but he couldn't even, and my grandfather didn't want any part of, he was 6 years older, and so he was very protective of her. So they ended up obviously getting married, and my grandfather was so heartbroken when he started to have kids. He loved his wife so much, and he started to have kids. He missed them greatly, so he wanted to stop fishing. And I could go on about the innovation of my great-grandfather, my grandfather in the fishing, but my grandfather brought the first motorized fishing boat to Gloucester Harbor. And he was very innovative. He had to quit school when he was 14. The teacher said, "You're very bright, Leo. I'm not going to let you quit school," but he had to support the family, and he went fishing at 14. He says, she said, "I'm going to send the truant officer after you." But he says, I thought I was safe out in the ocean. They wouldn't find me. So he fished for a long time. He started really missing his family. He wanted a shoreside job. And this was actually during the Depression, and he went to the bank to get a loan to buy a fish wharf. And the banker said to him, "You're very progressive, wanting to buy a fish company in the middle of the Depression, start a fish wharf." And so he named it Progressive Fish Company. And that was the name of it for years. And he ran it, and he didn't really know what he was doing, but he was ambitious, and he was a very hard worker, and he was very smart, and he figured it out. And he was unloading millions of pounds of whiting, and he was packing it. And they had those little fish boxes where you could tear out the fish so you could see the fillet, which was very innovative at the time. And they started selling it to supermarkets and everything. And so he did very well with it. And he also was selling fuel oil to the fishing boats. And he did very well with that. So flash forward to my dad, also a fisherman, quit school, had to support the family, went fishing out of the fort, and it came to be that same thing happened to him. He got married, he started having kids, he was out fishing, 10 days at a time, sleeping 4 hours, working 20, and he came home and he saw my oldest brother, and he said, "Oh, come see Daddy," and he was calling my grandfather, Leo Linkwater, his father-in-law, Dad. And he said, "I'm out here killing myself to come home and have my son calling my father-in-law Dad." So he says, "I want to do the same thing." So he got together with his friend Carlo Scimitaro, and they bought a wharf. And same thing, really didn't know what they were doing, but hardworking, ambitious, smart, street smart, common sense smart. And Carlo and my dad, Anthony Parco, started Morning Star Fisheries. And it was literally right out here, which my dad always said they took it by eminent domain to build a Coast Guard station. But my sister, who's here, told me recently, no, it was not exactly where the Coast Guard station. I remember as a kid going to see them, and it was over where this red building is right here at the end of this dock, which Justin just showed me. So we have that confirmed. And so when the city of Gloucester took it by eminent domain, he decided he wanted to go out on his own, and Carlo decided he wanted to go out on his own. So Carlo came over where Declan's is. It used to be Captain Carlo Shimataro, and he started Star Fisheries. And my dad said to my grandfather, you know, do you have any suggestions of a wharf I could buy? And my grandfather said, you know, I'm making more money selling fuel oil to the fishing boats than I am fish. So I want to go into the home heating business. So he started Progressive Oil Company. And my father bought the wharf down the fort and changed the name to Ocean Crest Seafoods. And that was in 1965. So very innovative family, hardworking, ambitious, and just kept changing with the times as needed. And there was different kinds of fishing, you know. Over the years, they would just have new ideas, new markets, and new species of fish where they would find new ways to sell it. And they were, again, doing millions of pounds of fish. They had, you know, boats 4 or 5 deep every day at the dock. And then along came all the fishing regulations. And they really put a crunch on the amount of fish. And my dad used to say, we used to make 5 cents a pound and make more money than when we were making 25 cents a pound just because of the volume. And they were employing a lot of people. At the time, you know, we all, us kids, 5 kids, started working there. My father's business partner was my Uncle Ed McCullum, and he had 3 kids working there. And my father had cousins working there and their kids, and so it was a big family business. And there was a dehyde in Gloucester that took all the fish remains, we call it gurry, and this the dehyde over here on the State Fish Pier it was really stinky, and people, you know, other people from out of town started moving in, and people just started complaining about the stink, and they got it shut down. So here we are filleting tons of fish. And the gurry is 60 to 70% of the fish. Only 30 to 40% is the fillet. So we were throwing away more than we were keeping. And we put it on a boat called the Italian Gold, which actually sunk with all men on crew. But we called it the gurry barge, and they would take the gurry out to sea and dump it. So it was expensive, it was wasteful, and it was creating a dead zone because as it decomposed, it was sucking the oxygen out of the water. So it was bad for the environment. And so my dad was out to dinner one night with his good friend, Mr. Leeson, and he said, you know, he worked for the University of Massachusetts Marine Station. And he said to my dad, you know, Tony, I can help you develop a process to turn this gurry into fertilizer. And so he had the ambition. I always say my dad had the guts to go into the fertilizer business. So that's how we ended up in the fertilizer business. And the whiting brand that my dad sold was whiting, was called 7 Seas brand. And so it was called Neptune's 7 Seas. Neptune 7 Seas. So we took the Neptunes of that and we combined it with the harvest of the vegetables. I drew the logo. I was an art major actually, and I really didn't want to work in the office. Bookkeeping is not my thing at all. So I said, you know, okay, now selling organic fertilizer, this I can get behind. So I came, you know, back and I started working with them. And I drew the logo, but Chisholm and Hunt fixed it up nice. Jamie Burnham actually did that. When I did my original sketch, there was a fish in the pitchfork, but my brother's like, that doesn't look so good, maybe we should take that out. But that's how we ended up in the fertilizer business. And this is our wharf, or next to our wharf, taken from our wharf, looking over at North Atlantic. And that's still operating as a seafood company, like I said. So we take the after we unload the boats, we take the gurry, we grind it up, it goes through a big auger, comes out looking like hamburger. Then it goes into these tanks where we hydrolyze it, which means the natural enzymes in the fish break it down into a liquid. And these high-powered pumps whip it around, and within 24 hours, it's a liquid. Looks kind of like chocolate milk. We put phosphoric acid in, which stabilizes it, brings the pH down to 3.5, and it makes a really good, amazing organic fertilizer. Indefinite shelf life till you add water. We screen it so it doesn't clog sprayers, and that's basically it. So it's safe. I mean, the ingenuity in that my dad and UMass came up with has been copied for years. I've been selling fertilizer now for over 30 years, and there's a lot of copycats, but nobody can quite do it like we do it. Prior to that, there was fish emulsion, Alaska fish. I might have heard Alaska fish fertilizer, but that's made in the Gulf of Mexico from menhaden. They remove the meal for pet food, the oils for fish oil products, and the waste that's left after that, they boil down to a 50% solution and sell it as fish emulsion. So it's a whole different process. Ours is cold processed, multiple species, just night and day. That doesn't stink like the fish emulsions of past. So very innovative way to keep surviving in Gloucester Harbor. So that, now we have like 10 liquids and a couple dry: seaweed, crab and lobster shell. We keep expanding and innovating. So I call my grandfather the first generation, even though he just sold my dad the wharf. Then my dad with Ocean Crest Seafoods, and then Neptune's Harvest, and then myself and my siblings, and my son and some of his cousins work there now, and my sister's grandson works there now. So we're a 5-generation family Gloucester waterfront business, changing and adapting over the years to stay in business and fight what we can to save our working waterfront. And I've spent a lot of hours at City Hall, some of you also with me, trying to protect our working waterfront from, once it's gone forever. And there's a lot of like hotels, restaurants, condos, things that just don't fit on the working waterfront. And when Catherine asked me to speak and said it was the soul of Gloucester Harbor, I'm like, I'm in 100%, because I feel like it's through my blood. The salt water is like one element away from the blood in our veins, so it runs very deep in my blood. And so I'm going to read a little poem that I wrote kind of when I was fighting for the fort in the working waterfront. This kind of came out of me, so I'll read it, then we'll go to questions. It's called Grounded in Groundfish. So groundfish swims along the ground of the ocean: haddock, cod, pollock. Most of the fish we catch here is groundfish. Gloucester, Mass., grounded in groundfish. Was there ever a cooler place in all the world? A perfect natural harbor, a home to all that come from sea, welcoming them with open arms like a loving grandmother to her kin, embracing them and comforting them, jutting out to the richest fishing grounds in the world, passionate like no other place. We work hard and we play hard, and we have pride because we've earned it. Muscles built on hauling fish, feeding the world with what's real, valuable, sustaining, nourishing, protein, energy, life force. Feeling content, alive, and a little special. Definitely different. Humble to all that is. Appreciative, thankful, abundance, contentment, happiness, love, glowing, special for sure. Unique, unexplainable power, energy all around. Magnetic, self-sustaining, air, wind, water, light, and fish. Grounded in groundfish. Let us fish, let us be. There's plenty of fish still in the sea. You can't be our small boat fleet with a factory ship taking all in one trip. All for corporate greed, the machine it must feed. What will be left in its wake? It won't taste good if it's fake. Go ahead, drill in mind. Grow fish on land, it'll be fine. A payoff here, a promise there. Are there enough who truly care? Let's stand up and bring us back. Band together and do not crack. It's in our blood and it's in our hands. This is Gloucester, Mass. Try as you may, nobody can take what we got away. Yeah, so a lot less big boats, a lot of small, day boats. So the amount of fish coming across is a lot less, that's for sure. Thank God we have the fertilizer company, or I don't think we'd be in business, to be honest. We've diversified. We've rented out space on the dock to other fish companies. Boston Fish is there, which is my cousin, Dave McCullum's, but he sold it to Vito Shimataro, who's running it now, Captain Vito. And Cape Ann Lobsterman is renting our fillet room now. So we've got 2 renters. Just a lot less crew there working, a lot less fish, a lot more day boats instead of the big trip boats. We do stripers now, which we never did. So we've got, the small striper boats coming in, and we do a lot of them, and that's just winding down now, but we were very, very busy all summer with them. So that's what's left of the seafood company. Everybody's my age group. I'm the youngest of 5 kids, so my siblings are mostly retired. I've got one brother still working, and one kind of working a few hours a day selling fish early in the morning. But we're bringing in the next generation, my sister's son, my son, my brother Tony's son, daughter, and then the grandkids. So there is in Gloucester, that's for sure. We get most of our gurry out of Boston and New Bedford. Yeah, so we sell fish down in New Bedford, so we have trucks down there anyway, and we come back with the gurry from New Bedford and Boston. Yeah, and it takes 10 pounds of gurry to make 1 gallon of fertilizer. So if we grind 5,000 pounds of gurry in a day, that gives you 500 gallons. And we sell 5,000-gallon tanker trucks all across the country. In the summer, we sell 275-gallon bulk totes, 55-gallon drums, and then the pints, quarts, gallons, and 5-gallon pails. So you need a lot of gurry to keep up with our demand. And that's one of the reasons we diversified into seaweed. Now we can sell fish seaweed blend, which is fantastic, and it's 75% fish, 25% seaweed. We sell tomato veg, rose and flowering, lawn starter and turf formula, and we put fish with seaweed, molasses, humate, yucca extract, some added calcium, some biological microbes. So we kind of stretching the fish with other ingredients that really work well together with the fish and that a lot of growers use anyway, which makes it nice for them. Instead of buying 6 products, they can buy 1 and get everything they want in it. So again, this generation keeps coming up with, every generation has their contribution to keep going. No, we're not scientists, but we play them on TV. we kind of wing it. We look at the products that we want to put together, then we put them together, then we make sure the bottle doesn't blow up, which happens. And everybody that's worked for our company gets christened with fertilizer. I even drank some by mistake one day. I was at the Boston Flower Show, and I sit there all day long with my bottle of fertilizer, right? And I'm like, telling everybody about it, and I got my water next to it, and I'm drinking my water. All of a sudden, I just, 10-hour days, 10 days in a row, I'm stunado. I get my water, and I thought it was my water, and it was the fish fertilizer bottle. And I took a sip, and I was like, oh! And if you ever gone to the flower show, there's always these dips and chip dips. They're like samples. I'm running around the flower show looking for a booth that was giving free samples just to get the taste out of my mouth. But every single person that's worked for us has taken the gurry, the fish fertilizer bath. It's like you've got to be christened before you can really work there, It's groundfish, but it's also a lot of redfish lately. Everything goes in cycles, and dogfish for sure. But mostly it's just groundfish still. I'd say 15 to 20 different species. Redfish, sometimes the government restrictions are so messed up they don't even make sense. They're corrupt, to say the least. But they let you bring in these small little redfish. And nobody even wants these small little redfish. It costs you more to fillet them, so we were paying the boats like 15 cents a pound for them, and we were grinding them. It's sin, but if the government's going to let you bring them in, they come up in the nets, you got to do something with them. So we were grinding a lot, and so that adds, if you're paying 15 cents a pound for the fish, and then you're it takes 10 pounds to make 1 gallon. For every gallon you're producing, you're right off the bat $1.50. Cuts into your profit margin the more you have to pay. And we got to stay competitive because there is a lot of other fish fertilizers out there now. They're not as good. They're lake fish, river fish, coastal fish, more pollutants. Farmed fish, 25 to 30% die because they're so sick. Like Justin said earlier, buy local fish is so important. Farm raised, local, sustainable, like fresh, wild caught seafood from the local area you are in is what you want to ask for and make sure that you're getting to support the fisheries and for your health. It's just so much better for you. And that's why it's such a great fertilizer. The colder and the darker the water, the more minerals are in it. So, you go out on a whale watch, you're going to hear the same thing about the cold, dark water. I always say, the cold, dark, nutrient-rich North Atlantic Ocean water. It's our life force here. And it's true with the fertilizer. It's healthy for us to eat, but it also makes really good fertilizer. It's got your NPK, which is nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. That's your macronutrients, which all fertilizer has. And then it's got micronutrients, trace elements, amino acids, vitamins, enzymes, minerals. It's got growth hormones that are naturally in fish that make fish grow. It's got your omega oils, omega 3, 6, 9, like really, really healthy for you and your soil and your plants. And when you farmers put it on their fields, it deepens your organic matter. It lets the rain absorb in, it retains the moisture better, and then it also draws nitrogen from the atmosphere and it sequesters carbon. So, not for nothing, we might be saving the world too. No, we don't. Maine has really gentrified their working waterfront out of existence except for the lobstermen. Like, go to Portland, Maine, there is no real fishery there. A lot of those Maine boats come to Gloucester and unload. So we do get our seaweed from Maine. It's all harvested sustainably along the coast of Maine. It's cut, it's not ripped off the rock, so it regrows. So say this is your coastline and the boats go out and they start harvesting the seaweed here. They go along the coast. By the time they get here and they start harvesting here again, it's regrown. So you can't get more sustainable than that. We're also working with companies that are using 100% of the crab and the lobster shell. Same thing, they pluck the meat. They take the shells, they cook them to 400 degrees to kill any pathogens. They crush them in mills, and that's what we sell for our crab and lobster shell. So we're innovating with that. We have found a way to micronize it so small that it'll stay in suspension in a liquid. So now we have a liquid crab and lobster shell. So we're really cutting edge on the organic fertilizer world throughout the country. People call all the time wanting our secrets. We don't dry the crab here. That's a question I get asked a lot. We would love to, but no, because we don't do it here, we're getting it from other people that do it, not that local. But it's interesting, a really funny story, if I have time for one more quick little story. I was in Ireland in May. I'm at a pub at Last Call in Dingle, and a bar called Kennedy's at the top of the hill, and we start talking to the guy at the bar. His name was Jeremy Spencer. He was a fairly famous fiddle player. I had no idea at the time, but he had just come from a gig, and we said, what do you do, blah, blah. And I told him, I go, what do you guys do with all your fish? Your fish remains here. He goes, oh, I have a friend that does the same thing you do. I'm like, no way. He goes, yeah. So he texted him the next morning. I get a call from this guy, and he says, I hear you want to tour our fertilizer plant. I'm like, yeah. I says, I'm having breakfast, blah, blah, blah. He goes, I'm 2 minutes away. I'll be right there. He comes, picks us up, and his mom and dad were there, and they taught us around the plant, and they take all the crab and lobster shell, and they compost it with spruce tree bark. So the bark mulch from the spruce trees, which they have a lot of there, and it absorbs the liquid out. The place did not smell at all. It smelled very, very clean. And they keep going with this carbon-nitrogen ratio they have to get just right from bin to bin with different amounts of crab versus the mulch until the shell is completely dry. Then they screen out all the mulch and use it again, and they have this crab shell. So I asked him about the green crabs. He says, we have green crab problem here too. They have gentrification problems there. They have government regulations problems there. They have the exact same story we have here. So I'm in talks with him to get some of this intellectual property of how they make it, so we could potentially do it with the green crabs if we can get a grant. Yeah, what are the chances? And the dad started talking to me about chitin and the crab, and I said, oh, I know all about it. And I started talking to him. He goes, wow, you do know all about it. He's like, do you know the coincidence of like all this, like 5 people in the world that do this, and you meet a guy in a pub, you know? Oh, so we have the mosquito stuff. It's it's called Best Yet Biting Insect Spray. It's actually made in Texas. They private label it for us, but it is made of cedar oil. Like, you know, everybody used to have the cedar chest. It's a natural insect repellent, and you can put it on your skin, and it feels really good. It smells like cedar, and it's great for ticks, mosquitoes, no-see-ums. Some people swear it works on greenheads. Doesn't work great for that for me, but some people really swear by it. I guess it's just different blood types, but it works fantastic on ticks, I can tell you that. And you can put it on your pets and kids. It's safe. So we just, you know, you go into a distributor, and if you have like one product, like the fish, they're like, we're not going to pick up your line. You need a line. You can't come in with one product. So this is where all these other products come into play that we sell. It takes a lot to have a product start from zero and make the building center, Wolf Hill, Ace Hardware, Cedar Rock Gardens, great place. We have a little, we sell a little out of our office on the end of Condolin Road. We bought a warehouse, so we tried to buy the Bird's Eye building. It was zoned marine industrial. We put a bid in. Nobody had any interest in it for years until we put a bid in it, and then all of a sudden some fancy financing happened, and yeah, it's a long, sad story that's gone past. So Dave's back there going, shh, shh, shh. Don't talk about it. So I won't get all political about it. But anyway, we ended up buying, the bank owned the freezer, the Bird's Eye, but also one at the end of Condolin Road off of Magnolia Ave. It's Cape Ann Industrial Park. Same bank owned a freezer there that was also foreclosed on. So the realtor suggested we look at that, and that's where we are. And I live 1 mile from it, which I never in a million years when I bought that house would think that I would be working 1 mile door to door from my house. So it kind of worked out for me. I would much, much rather leave I have a granddaughter now, my son, my grandkids, my nieces, nephews, great nieces, nephews, a business to run than a trust fund. Any day. So it's not about the money, it's about the family keeping this going. 5 generations, let's keep going. Yeah, Jim? Thank you. This guy's been a distributor of ours for 30 years. Half the stuff I know about farming I learned from John Martin. I used to go every year, I still do, to Acres USA conference. It's the largest organic farming conference in the country, maybe the world. And he has been working the booth with us for years. And I've picked this guy's brain every chance I got. And it's amazing. Like, organic farmers are some of the coolest people in the world. And they're really smart in different ways. But they know about energy, and they're just like fishermen. Now, I'll tell you this, all my uncles, both sides of my family were fishermen my whole life. The farmers are the exact same breed. They wear the same clothes, their hands look the same, their faces. They were all, like we were talking about earlier, all fishermen alive. They're always crying poor mouth, the farmers and the fishermen, right? Even though they're doing very well. They can fix anything, anywhere with what they have. A guy in a farm in the middle of nowhere isn't running to Home Depot to get pots. A fisherman out at sea isn't running to Home Depot to get pots. These are the same exact people. They can fix anything. They're full of ingenuity. And one farms the land, one farms the sea, but they're the exact same breed. So when I'm at these shows meeting these farmers, I'm like talking to my family. I love these guys, you know? So it's very true. And it's kind of a nice progression. Land and sea together, right? Yeah. Check out gloucestersalt.org. That's another group I'm a part of. I'm probably over time, but yeah, go to the website, gloucestersalt.org. It's about local sustainable food security from the land and the sea. If there was no grocery store tomorrow, you could feed yourself living in Gloucester. But the best is the crab and lobster shell. It's full of calcium, and it'll prevent the blossom end rot. And it's high in something called chitin, which I mentioned earlier, which many insects are chitin-based in structure. Grubs, ants, fungus, root knot nematodes, ticks. So if you put it on your grass, you can get rid of ticks, fungus, ants. Like, it's got a lot of benefits for the garden because a lot of pests are chitin-based in structure. Anytime you plant a tomato, put some crab and lobster in the soil before. It's really good for it. As luckily, the city of Gloucester still respects the fishing industry and gives us trailer truck parking because, you know, you don't have room. Most of these companies don't have room. But we take those tanker trucks, we fill them up at Ocean Crest with the fertilizer. That's where we make it still. And then we send it to Condolin Road, where we pump it into our tanks there and make all our specialty fertilizer, bottle everything. But also that tanker truck's been to Montana many, many times, Idaho, Nebraska, Texas, Florida, Indiana, Ohio, New York. Like, that tanker truck is gone from March till July, from one farm to another, comes back, refills, goes again. If you're a big farmer with a big tank, you pump it right in there. It's a lot easier than dealing with 55-gallon drums, 275-gallon bulk totes. So we have 2 tanker trucks, and that's what they're for. The big farms usually aren't organic, unfortunately, and they're killing the soil. They're depleting all the biological life in the soil. The soil's like cement. You wonder why there's so much flooding. The water can't drain anymore. And it's just really bad for the environment. But now, because of a lot of reasons, the chemical fertilizer is more expensive than the organic. So now people are like, I don't even care it's organic, but it's cheaper, and they're starting to use it, and as their soil gets healthier and healthier and their yields go up, and it raises the relative feed value, total digestible nutrients, the bricks, and makes very nutrient-dense food. The cattle are healthier, horses, whatever eats it, us that eat the food that's grown with it. So it is catching on with conventional growers, and we are selling more to conventional growers, mostly because of the price, and then they figure out what's happening. And most of our farm distributors are farmers that started using it, and their neighbors are like, oh, they look so much better than mine. And then their neighbors want to buy it, and it's kind of grows, and next thing you know, they're a distributor selling to the other farmers in their area. We helped grow the world's largest pumpkin, 2,749 pounds. Yeah. Yeah, the world's largest pumpkin, and he's an avid user of Neptune's harvest. He loves our stuff. Yeah. You know, we put in, if you look down the fort, you can't miss them from anywhere in Gloucester, pretty much, those 4 green tanks. Those are 4 30,000-gallon tanks that are full of liquid fish. So during the winter, when we're not selling as much fertilizer, we can stockpile. And since we put those tanks in, we have not run out. People say that's a good problem to run out. But it's also, you're not the one on the phone saying sorry to all the farmers either, you know, it's a very frustrating problem. But luckily, since we put those tanks in, we have not run out, so. Yeah, there's a place called Big Timber, Montana, and we have a distributor there, and I would go out and talk at this soil conference. This woman, Nicole Masters, who's well respected in the industry, invited me to talk because she loves our fish and what it does. But those ranchers, we're in a barn, and all the guys have cowboy hats and boots and the big buckles, and I'm out there. They're all sitting on bales of hay, and she's from New Zealand, so she comes out and gives her speech, and then I come out and give mine. I'm like, I also don't say my ahs. You know, like, we're just... And they just love it because it breaks down the manure faster, so less flies, more dung beetles. It's, like I said, loosens the soil. I get calls like, "And you're making me work too hard. I've got double the bales to bale," and so it really does help. And the animals will eat half the feed and maintain high body scores because it's so nutrient dense that it literally pays for itself. And that's why they pay $5,000 in trucking only to get it out to Montana, because it does pay for itself with the nutrient density of the hay and pasture. Those guys have big sprayers, boom sprayers, and even in Wyoming, we have people that spray it out of airplanes. In Cody, Wyoming, I have a customer that sprays it out of airplanes. Yeah, raining liquid fish from Gloucester. There are other people that are starting to do that recently. We've been asked. I think we just, spread ourselves a little too thin. There's only so much, we can do. We're still a family business. I think we have 45 employees approximately, maybe 40 now, between the fish and the fertilizer, and about half are family. Ways where I think it started, we bought our machinery when we first got going in the very early 80s from Norway, and we flew the Norwegians over here. We put them up at the captain's lodge, and they stayed here for a month and helped us hook it all up. But then it took us about 10 years and $1 million to perfect the machinery, and we changed it so much it was unrecognizable from the machine that we got originally from Norway. But yeah, they were doing it there first. So Gloucester scallops are delicious. So are Ireland, though, I gotta say. I loved the scallops in Ireland. They were so good. And they had hake out there. On every restaurant menu, they had hake. Here, we just make fish cakes with it. But the scallops here, again, cold, nutrient-rich, cold, dark, North Atlantic Ocean water. Everything's sweeter. Yeah. All right.
Wasn't this fantastic?
Thank you.